Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. He jumped up from his chair and ran to the bridge of the exploration ship New Horizon. His crew was already at their stations, looking confused and worried. "What's happening?" Jake asked his communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Carter. "Sir, we're getting a signal from deep space. It's not from Earth or any of our colonies. The computer says it's alien," Ben said, his voice shaking. Jake felt his heart race. For 50 years, humans had been traveling through space, looking for other intelligent life. They had found empty planets, strange rocks, and weird gas clouds, but never aliens. Now, on a routine survey mission near the edge of human space, they might have found what everyone was looking for. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The bridge filled with sounds unlike anything they had ever heard. It was like music, but sad and desperate. The ship's computer worked to translate the sounds into English. Slowly, words began to appear. On the screen, double quotes, "Please, anyone who can hear this. We need help. Our world is dying." They came from the dark spaces between stars. "They eat everything. They eat planets. They eat people. We cannot stop them. Please help us." The bridge went silent. Jake stared at the translation, reading it again and again. These were not the first words he had expected to hear from aliens. He had imagined greetings, questions about human culture, maybe trade offers. Instead, he was hearing a cry for help from beings who were about to die. How far away is this signal coming from? Jake asked his navigator, Ensign Lucy Park. "The signal is coming from the Andromeda sector, sir. That's about 200 light years from here." "But sir, the signal is old. It was sent 3 days ago." Jake felt cold. If these aliens were under attack 3 days ago, they might already be dead, but he had to try to help them. It was the right thing to do. Over the next few hours, more signals came in. The aliens called themselves the Cathari. They were peaceful people who lived on crystal worlds and made music with their voices. They had been watching Earth for many years, learning human languages by listening to radio and television signals. The Cathari knew humans lived on what they called a death world. Earth was so dangerous that most aliens would die just from breathing the air or drinking the water. The Cathari had studied human history and were amazed that humans had survived at all. They called humans Deathworlders because only the toughest creatures could live on such a hostile planet. The enemies attacking the Cathari were called Void Hunters. They were like giant space parasites that moved from world to world, eating everything they found. They had already destroyed 3 Cathari colonies and were now attacking the home world where 7 billion Cathari lived. Jake sent an emergency message to Earth. Within hours, he got a response from Admiral Ryan Clark at Earth Defense Command. The Admiral wanted Jake to return to Earth immediately for a full briefing. "Sir, with respect, there isn't time," Jake said during the video call. "These people are dying right now. By the time I get back to Earth and we organize a proper mission, they'll all be dead." Admiral Clark was quiet for a long moment. "Captain Morrison, you're talking about making first contact with an alien species during a war. This could change everything for humanity. We need to be careful." "Admiral, they're not asking us to join their war. They're asking us to save innocent people from monsters. Isn't that what we're supposed to do?" Back on Earth, the news of alien contact spread quickly through the government. Commander Lisa Brooks from the Alien Studies Division was called to an emergency meeting. She had spent her whole career preparing for this moment, but not like this. "The Cathari have been studying us for decades," she told the assembled officials. "They know our languages, our history, our culture. They're reaching out to us because they think we're the only species tough enough to fight these void hunters." Dr. Amy Peterson, Earth's leading expert on hostile environments, stood up. "We have to help them. This is our chance to show the galaxy that humans are not just survivors, but protectors. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. That makes us different from species that evolved on safe, peaceful worlds. Some officials disagreed. General Frank Miller argued that Earth should stay hidden. We don't know anything about galactic politics. What if helping these Cathari makes enemies of other alien species? What if these void hunters come to Earth? Next, the debate went on for hours. Finally, Admiral Clark made the decision. We're going to help them. Captain Morrison, you have permission to proceed to the Cathari home world. We're sending backup ships, but you're the closest one to them. Right now. Jake felt relief wash over him. He immediately called his crew together. People, we're about to make history. We're going to be the first humans to meet aliens, and we're going to do it while trying to save their lives. I won't lie to you, this is dangerous. We don't know what these void hunters can do, and we don't know if our weapons will work against them. Anyone who wants to transfer off this ship can do so right now. Not one crew member moved. Good, Jake. Sighed, let's go save some aliens. The New Horizon changed course and headed toward the Cathari system at maximum speed. Jake spent the journey learning everything he could about the Cathari and their enemies. The aliens sent detailed information about their world, their culture, and the creatures attacking them. The Void Hunters were unlike anything in Earth's databases. They were part machine, part living creature, and part something else entirely. They traveled in huge bioships that could heal themselves and adapt to any weapon used against them. No species had ever successfully fought them, and but no species had ever been from Earth. As the New Horizon approached the Cathari system, Jake received one final message from the aliens. The voice was different this time, harder, more determined. Human ships, this is Warsinger Nethara of the Cathari Resistance. Our planet is almost gone. The Void Hunters have taken most of our cities. We have maybe one day left before we are all dead. Please hurry. We are ready to fight. Beside you, but we need your help. We heard that Deathworlders never give up. Please don't give up on us. Jake looked at the star ahead of them, knowing that around it was a world full of people who were counting on him and his crew to save them from monsters. He had never felt such pressure in his life, but he also had never felt more certain about what he had to do. This is Captain Morrison to all human ships, he said into his communicator. We're going in. Time to show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship as 4 more human vessels joined them in space. The small fleet looked tiny against the endless stars, but Jake felt proud. Earth had sent its best ships and crews to help complete strangers who lived hundreds of light years away. The flagship was called Terra's Wrath, and Jake was now in command of the entire mission. Captain Danny Phillips commanded the assault carrier Freedom's Edge, which carried fighter ships and marines. Commander Nina Scott led the stealth destroyer Ghost Walker, built for sneaking up on enemies. Captain Alex Thompson ran the support vessel Iron Shield, loaded with supplies and weapons. Dr. Helen Carter commanded the medical ship Mercy's Hand, ready to help wounded people. As the ships traveled through hyperspace toward the Cathari system, Jake spent his time learning about the galaxy from the alien signals. What he discovered amazed him. The galaxy was full of intelligent life. Dozens of different species lived on thousands of worlds. Most of them were peaceful traders who had never known war. They worked together in something called the Galactic Concordat, which was like the United Nations, but for the whole galaxy. The problem was that none of these species knew how to fight. They had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to defend themselves. When the Void Hunters first appeared 50 years ago, the Concordat sent diplomats to talk with them. The diplomats never came back. Their ships were found later, stripped completely bare. Dr. Sam Wright, the ship's alien expert, was talking with a Cathari scientist named Zepho through the communication system. The alien's voice was like singing, even when translated into English. "Your species is very strange to us," Zepho said. "We have studied your world through your television signals. Earth is a place of constant danger. Poisonous animals, deadly. Weather, diseases that kill millions. How did you survive?" "We got tough," Sam replied. "When everything on your planet is trying to kill you, you learn to fight back or you die. Humans are good at not dying. This is why we called to you," Zepho sighed. "The other species in the galaxy evolved on gentle worlds. They have never faced real danger, but humans know danger. You know how to kill things that want to kill you." Jake listened to this conversation and felt a cold understanding. Humanity was being invited to become the galaxy's soldiers. Other species would do the thinking and trading and art, while humans did the fighting and dying. But right now, that was exactly what the galaxy needed. The Cathari told them more about their world. They were made of living crystal and could speak to each other through harmonic vibrations. Their cities were grown from the planet's natural crystal formations, creating beautiful structures that sang in the wind. They had never known war until the Void Hunters came. The Void Hunters were the opposite of everything the Cathari represented. They were creatures of hunger and destruction, consuming everything they touched. Their ships were not built but grown, like cancer cells that kept getting bigger. They had no culture, no art, no purpose except to eat and multiply. "We tried to understand them," Zepho explained. "We sent musicians to sing to them, thinking they might appreciate beauty. The Void Hunters ate the musicians and learned to copy their songs to lure more victims." Captain Phillips joined the conversation from his ship. "How many of these Void Hunter ships are at your world?" 12 large bioships, came the reply from Warsinger Nethara, the Cathari military leader. "Each one is the size of your largest cities. They have smaller ships too, thousands of them, like insects around a hive." Jake did quick math in his head. 5 human ships against 12 alien bioships plus thousands of smaller craft. The odds were terrible. But humans had faced terrible odds before, and one dot as they got closer to the Cathari system. The human fleet received more detailed information about the enemy. The Void Hunters were not just tough, they were adaptive. When someone shot at them with laser weapons, their armor would change to reflect lasers. When someone used missiles, they would grow defensive tentacles to catch the missiles. Every species that has fought them has used the same basic tactics, Nina Scott observed during a strategy meeting. Long-range weapons, defensive formations, trying to minimize casualties. That's why they keep losing. What do you suggest? Jake asked. Nina smiled coldly. We do what predators do, we hunt them. Dr. Wright had been studying the biological data about the Void Hunters. I think I found something interesting. These creatures are silicon-based, not carbon-based like us. That might be a weakness we can exploit. How so? Jake asked. Silicon-based life forms might not handle rapid temperature changes very well. Their adaptation ability might not work fast enough if we hit them with extreme heat and cold. At the same time, Captain Thompson spoke up from Iron Shield. We can manufacture thermal weapons while we travel. Mix cryofreezers with plasma burners. Create thermal shock. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Cathari system, and Jake immediately understood why no one had ever beaten the Void Hunters. The bioships were not just large, they were horrible. They looked like gigantic insects crossed with tumors, covered in armor that moved and shifted like living skin. Around them swarmed clouds of smaller organisms that pulsed with sickly light. Cathari home world looked like it was being eaten alive. Whole continents had been carved away, leaving raw wounds in the planet's surface. The beautiful crystal cities were gone, replaced by ugly mining operations that stripped away everything valuable. Human fleet, this is Warsinger Nethara, came. A transmission from the planet. We are so glad you came. But you should know, we tried everything. Our best weapons, our smartest tactics, everything we could think of. Nothing works against them. That's because you've been fighting them like civilized people, Jake replied. We're going to fight them like the savage animals we are. Jake opened a channel to all the human ships. Listen up, everyone. These things have been winning because they adapt to conventional tactics, so we're not going to use conventional tactics. We're going to use every dirty trick, every savage instinct, every brutal lesson that Earth taught us. These void hunters think they're the ultimate predators. Time to show them what real predators look like. The human fleet moved into attack formation. Jake looked at the massive bioships ahead of them and felt something he had not expected. He felt hungry, not for food, but for the fight. This was what humans had been made for during millions of years of evolution on a world that never stopped trying to kill them. All ships, this is Terra's wrath. Begin the hunt. The first human attack came without warning. Captain Danny Phillips launched a wave of combat drones from Freedom's Edge while the Void Hunter bioships were still trying to figure out what the small human fleet was doing in their system. Drones were simple machines with one job: destroy everything that was not human or Cathari. When the bioships tried to adapt their defenses, they found nothing to adapt to. The drones kept changing their attack patterns every few seconds. One moment they used plasma cannons, the next moment they switched to old-fashioned explosive rockets, then to acid sprayers, then to simple ramming attacks. The Void Hunters had never faced enemies that fought so randomly. Their adaptation systems were designed to counter organized, logical attacks. But there was nothing logical about human warfare. Commander Nina Scott took her stealth ship Ghost Walker on a hunting run through the bioship formation. She had studied Earth's best submarine commanders and learned their tricks. The Ghost Walker slipped between the massive alien vessels like a shark moving through a school of fish. The Void Hunters could not see her coming. Their sensors were designed to detect the energy signatures of other galactic species, all of whom used similar technology. Human stealth systems were completely different, based on lessons learned from hiding from other humans during Earth's many wars. Nina targeted the sensory organs on the bioships, the parts that looked like giant eyes or antennae. Each precise strike blinded or deafened one of the massive creatures. The bioships began crashing into each other, unable to coordinate their movements. On Terra's wrath, Dr. Sam Wright was analyzing tissue samples that the drones had collected from damaged bioships. His discovery changed everything about the battle. Captain Morrison, Sam called out excitedly, I found their weakness. These silicon-based organisms cannot handle rapid temperature changes. Their cellular structure breaks down if you heat them up and cool them down too quickly. Jake immediately contacted Captain Thompson on Iron Shield. Alex, how fast can you manufacture those thermal shock weapons? Give me 20 minutes and I can have enough for all our ships, Thompson replied. Within minutes, his manufacturing systems were producing warheads that combined superheated plasma with cryo-freezing compounds. But the Void Hunters were not giving up easily. They began launching swarms of smaller organisms, living missiles that chased the human ships through space. Each organism was the size of a fighter jet and moved like an angry hornet. This was exactly the kind of fight humans understood. For millions of years, humans had dealt with swarms of dangerous creatures, from angry bees to attacking wolves. The human pilots fell back on instincts that went deeper than training. Lieutenant Pete Jackson, flying a fighter from Freedom's Edge, found himself surrounded by 6 of the organism missiles. Instead of trying to outrun them, he did something no galactic pilot would ever do. He flew directly at the largest bioship, using its own bulk as cover. The organism missiles crashed into their mother ship while trying to follow him. The battle was turning, but Jake knew they needed to do more than just hurt the Void Hunters. They needed to terrify them. He made a decision that shocked even his own crew. "All ships, prepare for ramming speed," Jake announced. "Sir, that's suicide," his weapons officer protested. "No, it's not. It's what we do on Earth when we fight things bigger than us. We use tools. This ship is a tool." Terra's wrath accelerated directly toward the largest bioship. The Void Hunter vessel tried to adapt, growing thicker armor and defensive tentacles. But it could not adapt to the simple physics of a metal ship moving at high speed. Terra's wrath crashed through the bioship's hull like a spear through flesh. The ship's reinforced front section, designed for asteroid mining, punched a hole completely through the alien vessel. Jake felt the impact through the ship's structure, but kept flying, emerging from the other side of the bioship as it began to die. The other human ships followed his example. Instead of fighting at long range like civilized species, they closed in for brutal, close-quarters combat. Captain Thompson used Iron Shield like a club, smashing smaller organisms against the hulls of the bioships. Dr. Carter, despite commanding a medical vessel, used Mercy's Hand to ram organism missiles that were threatening damaged human fighters. Warsinger Nethara watched the battle from the planet's surface and could not believe what she was seeing. The humans fought like nothing she had ever imagined. They were not trying to minimize damage to their own ships. They were using their ships as weapons. "Zephal," she called to her scientist friend. "Are all Deathworlders like this?" "I do not know," Zephal replied. "But I think we are very lucky they are on our side." The Cathari began to help in their own way. War singer Nethara had learned to use her people's harmonic abilities as weapons, creating sound waves that shattered the Void Hunter's silicon-based nervous systems. When she coordinated her attacks with the human thermal weapons, the results were devastating. The largest bioship, the one Jake had rammed, was clearly the leader of the Void Hunter fleet. As it began to die, it sent out distress signals that the other bioships could not ignore. 3 of them moved to protect their leader, clustering around it like worried children. This was exactly what Jake had hoped for. "All ships, target the cluster. Hit them with everything we have." The combined human attack was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Thermal shock weapons created temperature differentials that cracked the bioships' hulls. Ramming attacks drove deep into their vital organs. Swarms of simple, aggressive drones attacked from every angle with weapons that changed too fast for adaptation. But the real secret weapon was something the Void Hunters had never encountered: humans who refused to give up. Every time a bioship adapted to one attack, the humans switched to something completely different. They fought with the desperation of creatures who had spent their entire evolutionary history refusing to become extinct. 2 bioships died completely, their massive forms going dark and beginning to drift apart. 3 more were badly damaged and leaking fluids into space. The remaining 7 began to retreat toward the edge of the system. Jake was not going to let them escape. "Nina, can Ghost Walker track them?" "Already on it, Captain. These things are hurt and scared. They're not being careful about hiding their trail." For the first time in 50 years, Void Hunters were running away from a fight. The other species in the galaxy would never believe it, but Jake had video proof. Humans had faced the galaxy's ultimate predators and won, but the battle was not over yet. The largest bioship was still alive, and Jake could see smaller organisms pouring out of it like antibodies from a wound. The Void Hunters were preparing for one final desperate attack. "All ships, prepare for close combat," Jake ordered. "Time to finish this." The largest bioship was dying, but it was not going to die quietly. Jake Morrison watched as thousands of smaller organisms poured out of the massive creature like angry wasps from a broken hive. These were not the missile organisms they had fought before. These were something worse. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from those smaller craft," reported his sensor operator, Lieutenant Mary Kelly. "They're heading straight for the planet." Jake realized what was happening. The Void Hunters were making a final desperate attack on the Kethari home world. If they could not win the space battle, they would try to destroy everything on the planet before they died. All ships, intercept those organisms. Don't let any of them reach the surface, Jake ordered. But there were too many of them, and they were moving too fast. The human fleet was spread out from the battle, and several ships were damaged. They could stop most of the organisms, but not all of them. That was when Warsinger Nithara surprised everyone. Human ships, this is Nithara. We are not helpless. We have been learning from you. Time for the Kethari to fight like Deathworlders. From the planet's surface, beams of pure harmonic energy lanced up into space. The Kethari had turned their beautiful crystal cities into weapons. The harmonic beams struck the incoming organisms and shattered them like glass hitting a high note, but the largest organism was still coming. It was the size of a small moon and covered in armor that had adapted to resist both human weapons and Kethari harmonics. Jake knew that if it reached the planet, it would kill millions of people. This is it, Jake said to his crew. We have to stop that thing no matter what it takes. Sir, we could ram it, suggested his pilot, Ensign Rick Torres. But Terra's wrath probably won't survive the impact. Jake looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were good people who had volunteered to travel across the galaxy to help strangers. They deserved better than to die in a suicide attack. But sometimes, doing the right thing meant making hard choices. Captain Morrison, came a voice over the communication system. It was Dr. Helen Carter from the medical ship. I have an idea. What if we don't try to destroy that thing? What if we try to make it sick? What do you mean? Jake asked. I've been studying the biological samples we collected. These Void Hunters are like a disease. They spread from world to world, consuming everything. But every disease has a cure. What if we could infect them with something they can't adapt to? Dr. Carter explained her plan. She had been working with samples of Earth bacteria, tiny organisms that had evolved on humanity's hostile world. The Void Hunters' adaptation systems were designed to counter weapons and defenses, not microscopic life forms that they had never encountered. It's brilliant, said Dr. Sam Wright from Terra's Wrath. Their immune systems won't recognize Earth bacteria as a threat until it's too late. The plan was dangerous. Someone would have to get close enough to the massive organism to inject it. With the Earth bacteria, that meant a suicide mission. I'll do it, volunteered Lieutenant Pete Jackson, who had been flying fighters during the battle. My ship is fast enough to get in close. No, said Jake firmly. I'm the mission commander. This is my responsibility. Before anyone could argue, another voice cut into the communication channel. This is Captain Phillips on Freedom's Edge. My ship took heavy damage in the battle. We're not going to make it back to Earth anyway. Let us do this. Jake felt a pain in his chest. Danny Phillips had been his friend for 15 years. They had gone through military academy together, served on the same ships, fought in the same battles. Now Danny was volunteering to die to save people they had never met until a few days ago. Danny, no. We can find another way, Jake said. Jake, you know there isn't another way. Besides, someone has to show these aliens what humans do when our friends are in trouble. We protect them, no matter what it costs us. Freedom's Edge changed course and accelerated toward the massive organism. Danny had loaded his ship with Dr. Carter's bacterial weapons and set the ship's reactor to overload. When Freedom's Edge hit the organism, it would explode and spread Earth bacteria throughout the creature's body. The organism tried to defend itself, growing tentacles and armor plating, but Danny flew his ship like a man possessed. He dodged every attack, weaving through the creature's defenses with skill that would have been impossible for any pilot who had not grown up on a world where everything was trying to kill him. Jake, Danny's voice came over the radio one last Time. Tell my family I died doing something that mattered. Tell them the galaxy is a little bit safer because we were here. Freedom's edge struck the organism's core and exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet's surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive creature began to convulse. The Earth bacteria were spreading through its body, and its adaptation systems could not figure out how to stop microscopic invaders that it had never encountered before. The organism died in space, its body breaking apart and drifting away in pieces. The remaining Void Hunter ships, seeing their largest vessel destroyed, fled the system entirely. For the first time in their species' history, the Void Hunters had been completely defeated. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. Freedom's edge was gone, along with Danny Phillips and his entire crew. Several other human ships were badly damaged. Many good people had died to save a world they had never seen, but they had won. The Cathari homeworld was safe. In the days that followed, something amazing happened. News of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy faster than anyone had expected. Species that had lived in fear of the Void Hunters for decades suddenly had hope. The Galactic Concordat sent official representatives to meet with the human fleet. Jake found himself sitting in a conference room aboard a massive alien ship, surrounded by beings that looked like nothing he could have imagined. There were creatures made of living light, others that looked like walking trees, and some that existed partially in different dimensions. "Captain Morrison," said the Concordat representative, a being that looked like a cross between a dolphin and a butterfly. "On behalf of 47 member species, I formally invite humanity to join the Galactic Concordat as a full member with special status as military protectors." Jake thought about what that meant. Humanity would become the galaxy's soldiers, the ones other species called when monsters came calling. It was a huge responsibility, but also an honor. "We accept," Jake said simply. Back on the Cathari home world, the rebuilding had already begun. The crystal cities were growing again, and the Cathari were singing songs of gratitude that could be heard from orbit. War singer Neth Ara was working with human military advisors to train the first integrated defense forces. Dr. Sam Wright and a Cathari scientist, Zafal, had established a research station where humans and aliens worked together to develop new weapons and defenses. They were preparing for the day when the Void Hunters might return. Jake stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt Cathari orbital station, looking out at the stars. Beside him, Nethora was humming a song that made the crystal walls around then glow softly. "What is that song about?" Jake asked. "It is about friendship," Nethora replied. "About how sometimes the best friends are the ones who come from far away when you need them most." In the distance, Jake could see new ships arriving. Every day, representatives from dozens of species wanted to meet the Deathworlders and learn from them. Some wanted to hire human mercenaries. Others wanted to establish trade relationships. A few wanted to learn how to fight like humans. Jake smiled as he watched the ships come and go. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as the friends you called when the monsters came to your door. It was a good job for a species that had learned to never give up, no matter how bad things got. Somewhere in the dark spaces between stars, the surviving Void Hunters were telling stories about the Deathworlders who had fought them and won. Those stories would spread to other threats, other enemies who thought they could prey on the weak and innocent. Now they knew better. Now they knew that somewhere in the galaxy, humans were watching and waiting, ready to answer any call for help. With all the fury that only survivors of a hostile world could bring to bear,